Professor G. Gopalakrishnan, who is the chair of the organizing committee of the first Asia Pacific Conference of the International Academy of Law and Mental Health, is being held from 15 to 17 December. It was inaugurated at the MEJ Vedanta Auditorium on 15th with Justice Gopal Gowda Ji to inaugurate the program. That was a CME program for doctors and other mental health professionals. And then the 16th and 17th are being held at NIMHANS Auditorium. We have totally 584 registrations for this conference, which includes mental health professionals and legal professionals. And it was a valedictory today on 17th. And we had several sessions. We had 27 speakers from the field of law, justice, social work, and patients' families, and also professionals talking about various issues concerning law and mental health and discuss about the road ahead. This conference discussed about the human rights of the mentally ill in general and with specific reference to Asian countries and more specific reference to India. A lot of discussion was going on the National Mental Health Care Bill 2016, which is before the Parliament. We wanted some amendments, even though keeping in view the right, but at the same time for ensuring this standards of care and improving the dignity of the patients. Lot needs to be done. There should be budgetary support from the government and for the legal system to take care of the interface between law and medical field.
Jagannathan Srinivas Raghavan, who is Professor Emeritus of Psychiatry from Southern Illinois University School of Medicine, and I am an honorary fellow of the International Academy of Law and Mental Health. This is the first time the International Academy of Law and Mental Health brought an Asia Pacific conference, and that was arranged by Dr. Gopalakrishnan here. And as an international coordinator, I was able to bring some dignitaries essentially from United States, especially Dr. Philip Resnick, Stephen Hodge, Anand Pandurangi, Manish Fosdar, Angeline Stanislaus, and Anthony Fernandez, and from Canada, Dr. Gojer, and from Ireland, Brandon Kelly. And there was also a nice delegation from Vietnam at this conference. And overall, this was much better than expected in terms of the Indian delegates' participation. However, we would have really liked more people from the nearby SAARC countries. Of course, this is the first time, and what we did was excellent. As we carry it forwards in the future, maybe once in 2 years, this could be carried on in this region and bringing other countries into this. And of course, India is the leader among the countries because with the maximum number of population and also the maximum mental health professionals. And I would really like India to be leading in that effort. And further, ultimately, the goal is to make sure that India and the Asian countries take active participation in the main meeting. Unfortunately, we have never had a meeting in Asia so far. But with more participation, it is only a matter of time when India could be the host of the main IALMH meeting down the line.
Effects and the after effects of what is going to go on, and this interdisciplinary need is a need of the hour. I think we have a long way to go, and we would see that probably in this country, because this is a country in transition, we probably would expect it to happen in the next couple of years. Then on day 2, when we started with the program at NIMHANS, which is probably the right place to do all this in this country, because I would honestly say NIMHANS is like a mecca of psychiatry for this country. This has produced extensive research, innovations in terms of knowledge and also in terms of care, in terms of being leaders for execution of projects and research. And we have had Dr. Brendan Kelly to start the day in a wonderful way to talk about the mental illness, the human rights and the law. He did take a class example of what we are well aware of, but he said the way forward is to probably block these loopholes when knowledge and there's an interface between the judiciary, the government and the doctors, mental health care delivery system. But we would probably see that the rights of the individual and the autonomy is respected. Then Dr. Narayanan did talk about the future of forensic psychiatry in India, which is very positive. I think we have more forensic psychiatrists needed in this country. There is a justification to start a training program, even for as a part of the MD program itself, a 3 months course only on forensic psychiatry, because this is something which is problematic still. And we do hope NIMHANS would start a DM in forensic psychiatry in the years to come, because there's a long way to go and future is very bright. And probably we would see in the couple of years to come these things in place. Then Om Prakash Nandimat from the National Law School probably touched upon a number of very practical things, not from the point of view of law, not from the point of view of justice, but what really happens in this country. A lawyer speaks for a client, and a doctor bothers only about the patient in need. Both are not the right options. Probably there are something in between. There are some interdisciplinary activities that needs to be carried out. And wonderfully he brought out the real facts of the judicial system and the gap between the judiciary and the medical system. The jargons don't help. They do not make the life of the person who comes to the doors of justice for himself or herself. Their needs are not satisfied because the system, the current system does not care for all this, and probably we have to have more need for an interaction between the two. I hope now more national law schools and institutions of psychiatric consultation or psychiatric hospitals would come together to make things better for the patients. Then we had another interesting program by Dr. Manish Futkar, who said there's a projection for psychiatry in terms of what's happening in neuroscience. With a decade of the brain in 1990, probably was thought that the decade of the brain is going to come and we are going to have all the fMRIs and the scans would answer to the problems of abnormal behavior. Then we have Stephen Hood, who said about competence to stand trial. This is the most important thing probably in psychiatric parlance, because this is how we often are involved. Is he competent to stand a trial in any given case? And he explained the nuances of doing it and how a psychiatrist must base his judgment to test the competence to stand trial. Then of course the most important lecture by Dr. Shekhar Seshadri. Of course, most of you know how well he does it, and he did well one more time. I've been seeing Shekhar doing it time and again for the last 20-25 years in my lifetime. Probably he did again with the new act of the child sexual abuse and what are the laws in place, evaluation of the children, what needs to be done. But still there are limitations, because as per the law, you are supposed to, if you hear something abnormal, if you really hear about a sexual abuse, you are supposed to report to the system. How much to report, when to report, what to report, probably we have to learn over a period of time, even though the law is in place for the last 3 years. Then came Thomas again, who is the section chairman for the WPA, who talked about the laws in protection of women in SARC member countries, because this again is an eye-opener. Not only we need to know what's happening in this country, what happens around us. After all, we become signatory to many things because it's a world phenomenon. Let it be WTO, let it be business, let it be economics, everything goes about what happens in the neighboring countries, then probably, for example, climate is not a problem only for us, it's a problem for everybody. Probably such things can happen and women, pro-women legislations do occur, but still women have not got the right that they really deserve to have. And we proclaim that the man and the woman does not differ as far as laws, culture or societies are concerned. Then we had the presentation by video from Charles Scott. Again, a very important thing on assessment of malingering in criminal cases. Because this is problem and what is the solution that you're looking for. He did say a lot about it. We missed the lecture from Amita Danda, whom I've been sharing for quite some time in my lifetime. But she was not here, but probably she could have also talked about so much about the Disabilities Act and persons with mental illness, what the rights are and what needs to be done. Many of you would have seen her writings in most of the print media in the country. Remember not to get just a pension. She's an army officer's wife, and think of it, the child does not get what he or she is supposed to get. And that's what she explained quite a bit, and I think it went on further. And we say that National Mental Health Program of 1982 has been a failure. I was a witness to it from 1982 till now. I did see, and I and Mohan Isaac, we did review the district project when they just took 6 projects, and then they went on to the rest of the project to see what has happened. The budgeted support was there, but it was just not reaching the unreached. At the same time, there were problems, and parliamentary committee went into it and said that it was a failure. But problems are there in the practice, private practice of psychiatry, right from admitting, right from doing a treatment, right from the rights of the people and the family and the caregiver. Everybody takes you to court, everybody takes it for a compensation, even in psychiatric practice. So probably this would have highlighted most of the people, especially young psychiatrists, to know what they need to know about. We have to keep a SOP in place. Probably the time has come that every doctor must know the standard operating procedure, how to admit, how not to admit, what he should be doing and what he should not be doing. The NDPS Act. If you live in North India at least, you know how NDPS Act was used against psychiatrists, about people, because of opium, but he did say cannabis is the most frequently abused drug. Alcohol is the next. But we are talking about NDPS Act because, as Vivek rightly said, it is done by Finance Ministry. It is not by Ministry of Social Justice or Ministry of Health. So we have a problem in that because NDPS Act probably deals with many other things, trafficking, terrorism, and so many things go on.
Now, for the last 3 days, from what I gather from him, all aspects of law and mental health have been thoroughly threadbare discussed. Now that a person suffering from a mental illness, apart from all other disabilities, is looked down because of the stigma attached to that, I was just wondering what is the best way to get him out of that. Now that you had a 3 days workshop, I would believe if we can take the principles underlining what's said about a prisoner or a under trial, notwithstanding the fact a person is suffering from a mental illness, it must be made clear that he is entitled to all the fundamental rights guaranteed under the Indian Constitution, or all the rights which are declared by the United Nations Organization under its charter. Because mental illness now, as we understand, is curable in at least 90% of the cases. It's a temporary phase. If it is properly detected, treated, in the end of the day, he could be a normal person. Suffering from mental illness, he is entitled to all the fundamental rights and natural rights and human rights, except to the extent to which that illness has deprived him of exercising that right. that's the best way of fighting the stigma attached to that person. The next and the most important thing which I would like to say is about the definition of a mental health person at all, because that leads us to some confusion in the Indian context. The World Health Organization has defined health in a very broader sense. It says it is a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Parties to the present covenant recognize the rights of everyone to the enjoyment of the highest attainable standards of physical and mental health. So it is in this background, the law of the country did not try to define what is mental health. You know, sometimes we are very intelligent. What our parliament, at the time of trial, not at the time of committing the offence, they make a distinction. A person who has committed an offence when he was mentally of unsound mind, and thereafter his trial starts. Even if he was all right at the earliest point of time, and during trial he becomes a mentally ill person, what protection the law gives is dealt with by Criminal Procedure Code 1973. Then the most important enactment which recognizes this mental illness is the Marriage Act, which is prevalent in this country and which is used, abused and misused. Of course, our Limitation Acts also deals with a mentally ill person giving an exemption from the running of the time during his period when he was not well. So it is in the background of this legislation. We have to see the interplay between the mental health and the law. Because recently when we saw some people were charged, the next day the defense period was he was not mentally all right. When they were amazing behind the bars, or when he is paraded in the streets. The real test is at the time of committing the offence, what was the position. And they have also made it very clear, ferocity by itself may not be insane. And the most important thing is, we in the courts are not concerned about the definition of mental health given by UNO or Mental Health Act. What the courts are concerned about is the legal insanity and not the medical insanity. A clear distinction has been made between legal insanity and medical insanity. If it is legal insanity, he is eligible for protection. If it is medical insanity, no. And there is no scope for any misuse by persons putting forth this plea. But the area where this mental insanity is playing havoc is in destruction of families, in matrimonial disputes. Though in section 84, the word used is unsoundness of mind, in section 13 of the Hindu Marriage Act, the word used is incurably of unsound mind. The distinction we have to bear in mind. The law, the parliament, in its wisdom has used the word incurably of unsound mind. Though in all other enactments, we have used the word unsoundness of mind comes in the way of a valid contract or doing any other thing. In matrimonial matters, they have carefully used the word incurably of unsound mind. Probably I think it's by experience. Unsound them, schizophrenia is a disease which is curable, and if any person comes to court, find out from the husband if the wife is the mentally ill person, has he taken care of the wife? If he has not taken care of the wife, he has not given her the treatment, the fault lies with him and he is not entitled to divorce. So I think after the seminar, till now, experts do not rise to the occasion, maintain standards, follow the ethics of the profession. And for the sake of money, if they are giving these certificates, not only they are helping and aiding and abetting a person to get a divorce illegally, they will be polluting the course of justice, and that's the accusation they must take. So therefore, when we are talking about mental illness, there is no field which has not affected. And I am very particular about this matrimonial aspect, because today the Indian family is under attack. Now they are saying, what do you mean by a joint family? The definition of joint family means husband and wife are living together, and therefore they constitute a joint family. Illness has assumed a lot of importance, because it is said, as I learned from the doctors, the best way to treat a mental health patient is to keep him in the house with love and affection. With medicine you can treat it. Now the family is husband and wife, the child is in the boarding school, husband is in one place, wife is in one place, hardly they meet on Sunday. And where is the question of, and it's, because it's done to the hospital. Without the order of a magistrate, they cannot be done. So such precautionary measures are taken under the present law, and I am sure the latest law also will make it more friendly to the mentally ill person. The Mental Health Act say a warning to the doctors: don't casually treat him, don't try to experiment on him. All this amounts to a violation of mental health, and I think that should be a sufficient warning to any person who will be casually dealing with a mentally ill person merely because he is not able to make out what they are doing. And now we in the judiciary have taken several programs meant for these persons, and we are able to reach out to those needy persons. A block earmarked for mental health. By judicial order, we said you must appoint all doctors. They were willing, but doctors were not available. I think now we have been able to see that all the 30 hospitals, there is a psychiatrist appointed. Nurses are easily available to the common man in the remote villages. In fact, when I did all this, when I inquired with the doctors, he said, sir, doctor, the hospitals are there, patients are not there. So I was surprised. They said, nobody will come and take it from us. And what is you are answering those questions? So people today understand. There is an authority in Karnataka, there is a government in Karnataka who is very sympathetic to these mental illness patients, and the best that can be done has been done. And more importantly, that's more where we are successful. We have a dedicated doctors, both on the government side and on the private side, who have given their best to this cause, without whose assistance we could not have achieved what we have done. So I must salute those doctor friends. A new addition to this campaign against in protecting mental health, and for the first time probably Nimans also has a psychiatrist at the head of the institution, and if all of us can join together, probably Karnataka could be a model to the whole country as far as mental health is concerned. Why to only India? We could make a model to the world. We have the ability, we have the resources, we have the requisite men who can achieve this, and if all of us can put our hands together, it should not be difficult for us to achieve this object, and we can to that extent do our service to the needy mental ill persons. I am glad that several organizations have come together. You understand the importance of law and mental health. They cannot be separated, and the lawyers and the judges should know something about mental health. The mental health professionals should know something about the law, and if we can join hands together, certainly we can achieve great success in this field. Thank you.
60,000 functionaries in the Department of Health and 6 crore population of Karnataka. So it's something like 1:1,000. And my dual role involves in ensuring that the patients who come to the hospitals are looked after well, treated, cured and sent back happily. But at the same time, ensure that not many come to the hospitals. So that's where, whether it is mental health or physical health, the goal and objective is very clear. Prevention is better than cure, and that is the reason why we've been trying to take the the detection part, the diagnosis part, and the cure back to the grassroots level, to the field level, to the village level, and to the community, most importantly. We do have Manasdhara, these rehabilitative centers at district level, but as Justice Kumar has said, there are no patients. Why? Because nobody wants to leave the family and stay there, and there are very, very few cases where the family actually, leaves the site. So thankfully, we still have those caregivers in the society and in the family, and we need to strengthen those relationships and those roots and see to it that we are able to cure them in that congenial environment of care, love, and responsiveness. Just wanted to say that in the preventive side, we've got this 104 24/7 call center, where for any health related issue, which includes mental health, people are encouraged to talk, and it is free of cost. So of late, I found that the number of calls from the adolescents are increasing, and these calls are after 8 p.m. and majority of them, you know what the adolescent issues are. They are severely, under that state of depression and at the brink of suicides. I'm very happy to share that with the counselors, the psychiatrists, which are working round the clock through this 104 helpline, we were able to avert 350 suicides.
Have a meeting in India, bring the whole delegates to India. Usually the meeting is attended by 1,500 to 2,000 delegates from 10 different, there are 10 concurrent sessions, and usually from 50 plus countries. So it gives an enormous opportunity to interact and also learn the best things other people are doing and what we are doing, and you could learn from one another. I also want to commend India has a much better prognosis for schizophrenics than many other countries. And you can be proud of the system that you have here. And Justice Kumar rightly pointed out, the joint family system had to do with part of that. But even otherwise, the families stick together compared to many other places. I've been in the United States for nearly 40 years. I can tell you, people with severe mental illness are ostracized in that kind of societies. And we try to work how to bring them, a sense of belonging and how they can improve and how they can stand on their own feet. But in India, many people who are diagnosed with schizophrenia are able to work productively, and even the people around them understand. Sometimes they may not be completely all right, but they allow that. And this is a great strength. Don't ever lose it. And so we can be proud of that. And I want to see down the line a meeting, the main meeting coming to India. And on behalf of the International Academy of Law and Mental Health, I want to thank each and every one of you. Without you, the meeting is not a success. This is
the first IALMH conference, first of its kind for the whole country and for the Asia Pacific region. I would like to convey deep regards and hearty thanks to Honorable Justice N. Kumar, Justice High Court of Karnataka, for gracing the occasion and sharing with us his vision of law and mental health. We all know that Honorable Justice N. Kumar, heart and soul, works with mental health. Thank you. Dr. Shalini Rajneesh, Principal Secretary, Health and Family Welfare, also Chairman of Karnataka State Mental Authority, is guest of honor, has taken her time out of her very busy schedule to attend this valedictory function.